meant to help you regardless of what your main goals are. Like regardless if you're trying to get, extra traffic, increase, conversions to leads or anything like that. This call will basically cover all that and hopefully shed some new light on how to get to the next level. And of course, if you have any questions at all, at the very end of this call, we'll have a Q&A as well. But of course, if you have questions prior, feel free to ask that in the chat box. And as I'm basically talking, either Sean or Sharon will basically answer you in the chat, or I'll answer you live at the very end as well right there. So again, welcome to Webfire's Wednesday webinars. Again, these calls are every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll host a live training and or Q&A call for all of our Webfire members. These trainings will either feature myself, Brian Kaz, Sean Casey, who you just heard, both of us at once, or occasionally a featured special guest if we think that their expertise would be of value to our members. If you're here or registered for the series, you'll get a reminder each week so you don't forget. But if you can't make one, we'll have the recordings in the members area within a day of any of the calls under the training tab on the left side navigation bar inside of Webfire. Use these calls as an opportunity to get even more training, ask strategy type questions, get feedback, or make suggestions on what else you'd like to see. Lots of these suggestions that you guys have made, we've actually made a reality. I know there's been lots of guys that have been shocked that they're like, wow, just a week or two ago I said it'd be really cool if you guys had this feature, and boom, there it is. So again, feel free to ask. We can't promise that everything will absolutely make it like, super, super fast, because there can oftentimes be like lots of requests, but we try to get everything that makes sense basically done and in there. So really cool stuff. And as you know, Webfire is always evolving, always new stuff, new features, tools, and all that stuff right there. And as a special note, we've noticed that lots of you have been asking for specific training on many things that have already been covered, like how to rank, how to reply to leads, like what to say, so on and so forth. All of this has actually been covered on several of our prior Webfire Wednesday calls and our Webfire trainings. But again, we constantly reiterate several key concepts as well. So you might see a few key points that pop up more than once throughout the trainings. And that's just because we know, you all don't watch every call. There's really key points that we really want to, hit home on and all that stuff as well. But also make sure to check out those prior calls, because there's lots of you that have asked like specific questions where we have like an entire call addressing just that. So make sure to check out that. And of course, we have our Webfire member rules to success. Number 1, follow the steps and the trainings that we have. Number 2, don't give up, and seek help when needed, but don't get too dependent. We've seen there's a handful of guys that, it seems like they, every step of the way they have to ask a question instead of watching a training or just jumping in and trying it out. So, obviously seek help when needed, but don't be too afraid to play around and experiment yourself and research yourself as well. And number 3, which is probably more important, is no whining or negative attitudes, because I think that's oftentimes the quickest way to fail is if you have a negative attitude and you're basically looking for excuses on why not to get to the next level. So that definitely won't get you too far in life, especially in business. So definitely try to recognize when you're doing that there. And before we get on to the training itself, a few quick announcements. So here's some new features and stuff. First, we have email alerts now done for leads. So for some of the lead tools, we actually have email lead alerts now that you can actually adjust like how often you want to be alerted. Like if you want to be alerted, once a week or once a month or anything like that, when it finds the new leads, it will actually email you an alert of that right there. And of course, if you get annoyed by the alerts or anything like that, you can always opt out of those, or set those to be like weekly or monthly or anything like that. So that is now a feature inside of the lead tools. We also have, I made this announcement that we were almost done with this last week. Well, it's officially done now. The Tweet Lead Finder tool inside of Webfire now allows you to export those leads. So if you want to export those leads and hand those to a client or an outsourcer or anything like that, you can now quickly and easily do that with the touch of a button inside of Tweet Lead Finder. And as another announcement for the social poster tool, I just got the latest update only about maybe a few hours ago, that they're in the middle of wrapping up a couple new features there as well, including stuff like Instagram and stuff like that. So some pretty cool stuff that should be out shortly there, and probably at some point this month. Another announcement is we have an outsourcing offer being put together this month as well, probably within in the next 2 or 3 weeks or so. We're actually working with essentially an outsourcing firm to train the outsourced workers on using Webfire, as well as doing a handful of marketing tasks outside of Webfire, like contacting potential clients or affiliates, or trying to get extra exposure and stuff like that for you. So a pretty cool deal that we're in the works with, and as soon as we're done with that, we'll make that announcement for you, because we've had a lot of guys asking, hey, do we have any recommendations for outsourcing this or that, and so we thought we'd put that together for you. We also have a big data analysis currently in the works, and that's essentially where we're analyzing thousands and thousands and thousands of sites and seeing why some are ranking well, why some aren't, and at some point in the next week or two, we'll give you like an in-depth analysis of what we're finding seems to be working, what's the latest basically algorithm, what does it appear to look like, what should the keyword density be like, all sorts of fun stuff like that. And I'm a big fan of like data, because there's guys that can say that they have an opinion of what works and why, but really the data speaks for itself, and that's one of the cool things about Webfire, is that we can track stuff like that, and we'll be going through that and analyzing it for you and trying to dumb down the entire thing. So instead of just dumping a bunch of data on you, we'll break it down to a bunch of key points for you. So hopefully that will all be set by next week's call, if not next week, the week after, or soon. And also, we have a free ebook, which is, well, I should say it's currently only free for the next day or two. It's on Amazon, and it's already an Amazon bestseller. And you guys can get a free copy of that. You just have to go to the link right there, which is also in the chat box as well, or should be in the chat box in a second. If not, it is getwebfire.com/free book. Again, getwebfire.com/free book. And that is just essentially a book that we wrote not too long ago. We just listed it up, maybe like two or 3 days back. I think two days back or so, and we made it free for I think about like 5 days time. So there's only maybe 2 or 3 days left where it's free right there, and it's essentially a book. It's 50 ways for basically entrepreneurs to make more. So it kind of gives like an overview of a bunch of different things, like what can you do with videos, social media, what can you do to get like partnerships, like who should you look to, what stuff can you do, how should you approach guys, all sorts of cool, useful bits where we break it down into like little sections, so you can quickly like jump through and see exactly what section is of most interest to you. And it's not one of those where you have to read like hundreds of pages or anything like that. We kind of break it down and make it as short as possible, with still getting the key points in there as well. So that is all entirely free. You don't have to pay shipping or anything. It's again a digital download off of Amazon right now. So again, it's just getwebfire.com/free book. But again, through the deal with Amazon, it's only free for I think the next 2 or 3 days or so. So make sure to grab that, probably ideally now, just to make sure you don't miss out on that. And another announcement is, as we mentioned, we have 2 masterminds coming up. Now, what we do in these events, they're one-day events, and basically is very hands-on. We work with either existing businesses that already are making a good chunk of money, or in a handful of cases, individuals that have skills that could be worth a lot more. Like maybe there's a programmer that has like that can code like a bunch of tools or stuff like that, but they just don't know how to get to the next level. Or maybe someone has a really awesome product of some kind, but they just haven't really gotten to that next level. Or there could be a business doing hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, but they're missing a few key things that could really double or triple the revenue that they're basically making. And what we do at these events is, I'd say, like probably half the time it's basically, hey, here's what we're currently doing, here's what's currently working well, here's what we found, and it will range from how we're doing Facebook ads, little tricks and stuff that we're finding with that. And a lot of the tricks that we find from working hands-on goes completely against what a lot of people are teaching too. So it's always useful stuff to see, like, hands-on, what's actually working and what's not. We'll talk about the niches and markets we're in, everything from the digital stuff to the e-commerce stuff to coaching and all that stuff right there. We'll talk about what seems to be working in both cases, how to increase sales, and also we spend a lot of time on working on funnels. So we'll break down your existing business in the funnels. We'll break down your offer, break down your pitch, break down your price points and all that, and really just kind of try to tweak your offer and help you get to the next level right there. And the ideal candidates, again, we can easily help increase a massive amount of revenue for you. That's why we again handpick these attendees to make sure that first and foremost we can actually help them, because if we can't help them, no offense or anything, we just don't want you there at that point, because we only want guys there who we can actually help and stuff. And the second half is more like lots of networking, lots of trying to solve problems that you have. So you come to them basically telling us what your problems are, what you need help with, and we solve those problems right there that day as a group. And so far, everyone that's attended ours have had they really love them. They've had really great success and all that right there. And we have 2 events in the near future right now. The closest one is one in Vegas. The dates should be finalized today, but most likely it will be June 23rd. And we have another one in London in the UK, and that will be July 10th. So that one will be a Sunday. And again, they're all day events right there. We'll take care of the food and all that stuff, so you don't have to worry about lunch or anything like that. And so you're all good with that stuff right there. And again, I really love these events because I find, like, even the events that we do, there's deals and stuff that we make with attendees there to do other businesses and stuff like that. Like the last one that I did in the Gold Coast, which you'll hear about in a second. There's one guy which you'll hear from in like a second, who credits me with helping him make, again, easily 6 figures worth of additional income in a matter of a couple months or so, just from a handful of easy tweaks. Another guy had a really awesome product, but was just having a handful of issues and bringing that product to the next level. And really what I saw was it was just a handful of easy things that he could change to really make that have a much more massive appeal. And we're now actually doing a partnership with him too, so that will for sure pay off big time. And again, there was like another attendee there that was selling stuff for probably about 1/10 the price of what she could, and the way that she was selling was originally probably the hardest way to sell, and with just a few easy tweaks, again, could completely transform her business around, her price point and all that stuff right there. So what I'll do is I'll actually show a handful of testimonials that I got from the last one, and you can hear what those guys are saying to really see the power of the masterminds and all that. So here's the first one. It shows this little box. I'm not quite sure why, but it will change in a second. So I'll just turn up the volume, and you can listen to what Justin says here.
Hey guys, Justin Mickey here. I just got back from a mastermind on the Gold Coast in Australia with Brian Cause. Now, I always look to go out to masterminds with other really successful marketers, because if you can pick up just one small tip or trick, it can literally have a massive impact on your business. And not only did I pick up tons and tons and pages of new tips and tricks, but Brian took a really in-depth look at our business and our sales and marketing funnels. And he suggested just a few small tweaks and changes that are literally going to have a massive, massive impact, and without a doubt result in probably at least an additional 6 figures in sales in just the next 2 to 3 months. So thanks for that, Brian. And I also just wanted to say, if you ever have a chance to make it out to a mastermind, either with Brian Cause or Sean Casey, that you do whatever it takes, pretty much at any cost, to make sure you can make it there, because they can just have an astronomical impact in the success and the future of your online business. So thanks, guys.
All right, so that was Justin there. So again, credits us with helping him, with a few easy tweaks. Again, most of the changes don't have to be huge. They don't have to involve a lot of work. They just have to be the right changes, the right fixes. And again, as you said, easy tweaks like that can literally result in hundreds of thousands of dollars in just a matter of a couple to a few months or so, just by, again, implementing simple, easy tweaks. Here's another one. What I love about this gal right here, Judy, she's actually one of the ones that she actually used Webfire to have, awesome success on a bunch of like smaller sites of hers. But she has like a lot of different projects going on. Like she uses Webfire to make a bunch of small sites and optimize them and rank them and all that stuff right there. But she also has other projects and stuff on top of that. So I thought it was really fun that she attended the last mastermind I had, and I kind of got to just to see a bit more behind the scenes of what she did, and was much more better able to help adjust her business, make a few easy tweaks and suggestions, and kind of help bring that to the next level as well. So here's what she had to say about that.
Well, here we are. We've just finished our masterclass day with Brian in beautiful Gold Coast, and oh my goodness, what do I say? I came out here this morning very excited, not really knowing what to expect, and I've been blown away. Once again, not disappointed at all, and going home with a definite plan in moving forward. First of all, the actual writing down of the concepts, the funnel that I currently use, and having that analysed and picked on, if you like, there on the spot, means absolute marathons to me. I know exactly at a glance now what direction I have to go and how I'm going to get there. Facebook ads, my eyes have been opened. I dismissed it once upon a time, and I'm back in there and cannot wait to create a campaign and get things moving. So once again, invaluable time, and I feel like an energised bunny now. Most people are ready to go home and have a sleep, but not me. I'll be buzzing all night. So thanks very much again, and this event, so worthwhile. So worthwhile. Do it.
All right, and the last one right here.
The main reason why we come here today is we needed a little bit of guidance to help us overcome the next hurdle in our business, and instead of us trying to figure it out on our own, we have reached out and we have asked for help and had someone that is more experienced than us come through and guide us with valuable information that will save us time, money, and deliver results a lot faster than us trying to do it by ourselves.
All right, so there's just a few right there that, again, I love these events because they're always good fun. Like everyone always seems to make more money from them. Everyone, including us, learns a lot. We see what's working for everyone and what's not, and we get to help those that have problems and stuff that's not working, and we get to basically amplify the stuff that is. And as a group, I think it's really awesome because you get to basically pick up on tidbits from each one as well. And I especially love it when it's like these smaller groups of like when there's only like 5 or 6 or 7 people or so. It's really easy to again network with everyone, build lasting relationships and basically help everyone, make more money. So there are a few spots left on each of these right here. If you're interested, type 1 for Vegas or 2 for London. And again, Vegas would be in a few weeks in June. London would be July 10th. Now, to apply before we make the page public, because we want to give our own, members and stuff first dibs and all that, you can email brian@webfire.com and basically tell me a bit about your business and skills, what your biggest challenges are and what your best essentially accomplishments are as well. So don't just say, hey, what's wrong with your business. Say what's currently working great, what have you found that's really good. Maybe it's you have an awesome service that has done like really awesome stuff for your clients, or maybe your biggest accomplishment is you got to appear on TV, or you got to whatever it might be at all. List off your problems as well as your accomplishments, and just tell me a bit about the business or about the skills and stuff that you have. Now, this is not a free event or anything like that. It is it is a mastermind. It's very hands-on. The fee will be in the thousands. It won't be in the tens of thousands or anything like that there, but we do offer a 100% money-back guarantee, which again, no one running a mastermind does that but us. Reason why is because we handpick all the people that actually attend. So if we don't think that we can help you, you won't be invited. It's not meant to be insulting or anything. It just means, again, we only want guys there who we feel we can actually help. And the reason why is we know if you can help you, it'll be well worth it, and we want everyone that attends the event to have a super quick return on investment. And if you don't, we don't want you to pay a penny. So again, if you're interested, just write brian@webfire.com. Tell me which event you're interested in, as well as a bit about your business skills, what the challenges are, and what your biggest accomplishments and stuff are. So again, feel free to do that soon, but make sure that's today, ideally like right after this call, because those spaces will fill up soon, because again, they're very small events with lots of, again, hands-on work where we're specifically working on your business, not just, general info and details. It will be specifically working, on you. Now let's move on to the rest of the training, followed by our Q&A, where you can again ask anything that you want. And on this call, and I think this call will be very eye-opening to a lot of people, it will be how to 10 times your sales the easy way. And then of course we'll follow it by our Q&A, and of course our cash giveaway after that. So moving on to how to 10 times your sales the easy way. A lot of businesses and people looking to make more money, whether online or offline, typically are stuck when it comes to growing their business. In the vast majority of these cases, it's usually because they're placing unnecessary hurdles in front of them or overcomplicating relatively easy things. The truth is that anyone can drastically increase their business simply by fixing one or more of the following things. So here are those things. One is the price point or the value of their actual offering, which can be as easy as, again, testing the price points, raising the price points, increasing the value so you can increase the price point or increase the conversions because the value's higher. Traffic, now that's one that like a lot of people think is the main one, but that's really not. Of course, obviously, the more traffic that you get, the more sales that you can possibly make off that traffic. Lead conversions is another big one to fix. It's the amount of visitors or traffic that turns into an actual lead. A few easy tweaks there can make massive differences and increases in sales even. And then of course there's the sales conversion rate, which is the amount of people that buy, whether it's the amount of leads that buy or the amount of hits to a site that buy. And then of course there's also the oftentimes completely ignored back-end conversions, and that's like if you have any upsells or one-time offers, or if there's any offers that you present them at any point in time after they buy, that would be a back-end conversion number. And that's oftentimes, there's a lot of businesses that only focus on the front end and they don't focus on the back end. And there's places that are literally leaving tons and tons and tons of money on the table simply by not making an offer. So in my view, 99.99% of businesses seem to have an issue with at least a few of these. I mean, pretty much every business has an issue with at least one, even the best of ones. But most of them have, issues with several of these. However, almost all of them just think that they have a traffic problem. Well, a few might think that they have a sales problem or a conversion problem. I hear this a lot. There's guys that, haven't made a sale yet, and they think they just need more and more and more and more traffic. But again, if they have a crappy conversion or a crappy offer, it doesn't matter how much traffic they get. Or they think that they just have a sales problem when maybe they just don't get any traffic to it. So they don't even know if they have a sales problem yet or not. So that's what the vast majority of people think. But the reality is that most businesses have no clue and don't care to track their numbers or even have the faintest idea of where their biggest problems are. So let's look at a business making $500 a month with okay numbers. Not, stellar numbers, but not horrible numbers at the same time. So these are all fairly easy numbers that aren't, exaggerated or, anything like that. So here's a business right here making $500 a month. Their price point is $50, so they sell a $50 product. And they have about 100 visitors a day to their site, which is about 3,000 a month. Their lead conversion rate, which is the amount of traffic that turns into a lead, let's say that's 10%, which again isn't great but not horrible at the same time. That would result in about 300 leads a month. The sales conversion based on those leads is 2%, so that's 6 sales out of the 300 leads for a profit of $300 a month. And their back-end conversion, which is, let's say it's about 16%, which again isn't great but isn't horrible at the same time. That would be 1 sale, and let's say the price point is $200 for a back-end offer. That's a total of $500 a month with just okay numbers. So not great ones, but not like completely horrible ones either. So it's, again, $500 a month. Not horrible, but probably nothing to write home about yet. But I'm going to show you how you can drastically increase that with just a few easy tweaks. So what happens when we start to fix just a few of those things? Well, here's that $500 a month business, but with some pretty massive tweaks to it. And we'll see what numbers that actually turns into. So the price point, let's say that we add a lot more value to the product or the offering itself, and we can change it from 500, or it's not, excuse me, not 500. Let's say we change it from 50 to $100 by basically adding more value. And again, most guys never even test this stuff. I mean, we found that oftentimes the difference between prices don't necessarily make a ton of sense. Like there's, guys like we've tested prices where, if you test like, let's say, $47 to 67, oftentimes there's like no actual difference in conversion rate. I've also seen at times stuff that was sold at like, let's say, $27 would sell just as well at $97. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I've seen that stuff happen. I've also seen stuff where, you'll sell more at a higher price point than you would at a lower price point. I've seen that too. Again, stuff that doesn't fully always make sense, but that's why you have to tweak and test that stuff too. So again, just by adding more value, you can, again, and testing and tweaking the prices, you could perhaps double your price and find that, it doesn't really hurt the actual sales. Then as far as the traffic goes, you could proactively post more, rank better, and look for more free exposure to just double traffic to 200 hits a day instead of 100, which would be 6,000 hits a month. So you can easily do that with, again, tools inside of Webfire to help your site rank more, to help find places that you can post on, get leads from, to start finding sites that you can get free exposure on, and also looking for even places that you can advertise on and stuff too. It doesn't all have to be just free. You can also do cheap ads and stuff too as well there. Then for the lead conversion, let's say you tweak your lead offer by offering a much better incentive to sign up, and then you double it to a 20% opt-in rate. That's 1,200 leads a month with the new traffic, or 600 leads a month with the old traffic if you do nothing on the traffic side. Sales conversion-wise, if you target your leads better, work on your sales pitch, work on your offer, add some social proof, and perhaps demo it better if it's something that you can actually demo, and you can double that easily from 2 to 4% of the leads, and that would be 48 sales for $4,800 a month right there. So just with a few easy tweaks right there, you're now at almost $5,000 a month. And on the back-end conversion, you could double that to about a third of the buyers, which again, that's again a very achievable number right there. So if someone spent $100 with you, it's not far-fetched or anything to say that, hey, you could probably convert 1 out of 3 at a $200 price point, and that would be 16 sales at $200 for $3,200 a month. And of course, you could tweak that price point as well. You could try to increase that. You could try to offer an additional one-time offer, or an additional upsell, and increase that even more and make even more off of that. You could also go a step further and also increase the long-term value of the buyers via follow-ups, additional offers, and so forth, to easily an extra $50 a buyer. Now that's conservative right there. I mean, if you add some like higher price point offers in there, that could be worth a lot more than that. But let's say just by having like an autoresponder series, having some additional offers in there, if you get just an extra $50 more a buyer, that's $1,200 extra over time. So that's a total of $8,000 a month plus $1,200 in extra value over time just off those leads as well. And again, that keeps adding up and increases the monthly numbers as well. So instead of $500 a month without any drastic changes, you can now get to, again, over $8,000 a month just with a handful of easy tweaks. So all of a sudden, you went from a business making about $6,000 a year to making well over that in just a month's time. And again, if you work on every one of those a bit more, you can increase that even more so. So once you accomplish that, you can try to increase your lead conversion even more, or your sales conversion even more, or add more back-end offers, or try to get more traffic. And at that point, once you tweak the whole setup, at that point you can just say, hey, now I can start driving more and more traffic in. But oftentimes guys are focused on driving traffic before they have like a funnel or a system that actually works and is in place. So that's a very key and important thing to note right there. And again, don't think that you have to change everything or double everything, because again, even just tweaking 1 or 2 things can easily double, triple, or quadruple your earnings. And that's just, again, tweaking 1 or 2 simple things right there. So it's not like you have to tweak everything. Start with the easiest things, know your numbers, test, and tweak. And what I mean by that is, sometimes the easiest thing might be to like tweak your lead capture offer. So yeah, you could do stuff like getting more traffic and all that, but it's super easy just to maybe tweak, like let's say a headline of a lead offer, or tweak what exactly you give away for a lead offer. So start with the easiest things and work from there. And it can't always happen, basically overnight, but oftentimes the difference between, $5 100 a month and 8,000 a month, or the difference between 10K a month and 100 grand a month is oftentimes just a handful of relatively simple tweaks. I've seen this happen a lot of times. There's guys that think that, oh man, to go from 500 to 8K a month, or to go from 10K to 100K a month, they think it's literally 10 times the amount of work. But that's not true at all. Oftentimes it's very easy, smaller amounts of work, just tweaking the existing offer that they have. In some cases, it's even easier work because they solve issues that they had basically by fixing any one of those bits right there. But what are some of the common issues I see with this? I see guys that try this stuff and they run into oftentimes one or more of the same issues over and over again, so I want to address all that right here. So here are some of the common issues. First, most people don't know their numbers and focus only on traffic without knowing, conversions, the quality of traffic, without even trying to grab leads, all that stuff right there. And the key here is, again, you want to know your numbers. You want to know how many hits you got, how many of those turn into an actual lead. You also want to track the source of traffic. Oftentimes there's guys, and I've seen this over and over again, there's guys that buy like, $10 worth of traffic, where they'll get like an offer for $10, they'll get like 1 million hits, and they'll say, well, I didn't even get 3 leads off of that, blah blah, your conversion system and all that sucks, yada yada. It's like, well, no, it's probably because you bought crap, fake traffic, or possibly not fake, but really, really bad traffic that has zero interest, in your offer at all. So you want to test and tweak, where the traffic is basically coming from and what the quality of the traffic is. Because, again, I'd rather have 10 hits of quality prospects than 1 million hits of, random ones. A lot also have a poor lead capture offer, or none at all. And what I mean, and this is a huge one, what I see, there's guys that, if they even have like an opt-in offer, or they have a lead capture on their site, oftentimes it's like a little bar at like the bottom or like the top right that says, enter your name and your email, and they say nothing else. Or at best, they say like, enter your name and email to sign up for our newsletter. Well, in either of those cases, no one, or I shouldn't say no one, but hardly anyone is going to sign up without having an actual incentive. No one wants to give out their email. No one wants to be bombarded with offers unless you have some kind of incentive for them to basically join. Like, it could be as easy as, hey, get these free 5 tips on how to do this, and that, or hey, get the free software on how to do this, or get the free course on how to do whatever, but make it a valuable course then, not just like a crap one that you found. You want to give them value. The more value, the more incentive you give them, the more likely they are to sign up. Another huge mistake I see is oftentimes people have little to no back-end offers. So they sell, like, let's say a $7 book, and they don't sell anything else. Well, you won't get rich selling just books unless you're like, the author of Harry Potter, or some major book like that. Because simply put, the majority of money on that stuff, especially lower price point stuff, tends to be made on the back end. And here's why that's really important. So how many of you will admit that you ever watched a late night infomercial? All right, let's see a show of hands here. All right, lots and lots and lots of yeses. All right, so how many of you will admit that you actually bought something off a late night infomercial? So you not just watched it, but you actually bought. All right. So there's some yeses there. All right. And there's some no's as well, but actually a lot more yeses. So here's a question I have for you. What was the price point of whatever you bought. So think of that right now. I mean, most of the late night offers, they tend to be cheap. Like it tends to be stuff for like, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 bucks or so. I mean, it's very rare that, you see stuff that's like $1,000 or so. I mean, occasionally you might get like, some exercise equipment where it's like 5 payments of $200 or something to that. But, oftentimes it's a lot of like kitchen gadgets and stuff like that, which, usually aren't more than like, 20 or 30 bucks or so, relatively on the cheap side as products and stuff go. All right, and yeah, and it seems to be most of you are saying, yeah, that's of the price point said, there's a lot of like 15s, 20s, 30s. There's a couple at 200, a couple at a few hundred. All right, so yeah, but most seem to be around 20 bucks. That seems to be about the norm. So my question to you is, how much do you think it would cost them to advertise to you? Do you think that for every buyer for a $20 product that they only spent 20 bucks to get that buyer? All right. Mostly no's, and you guys would actually be right in that. It costs them significantly more than that to get those buyers. I mean, if you were able to make a profit on the front end selling a $20 item, you would have, a phenomenal offer. I mean, better than probably anything I've seen out there. Most of the infomercials and places like that, they make all their money on the back end. So once you call in, they'll try to sell you immediately. If you turn down that, if you turn down that, it might be then, maybe there's like a reoccurring, and if you turn down that, they might have a mailing list where over time you'll get additional offers and you might buy more stuff. But the money is almost always made on the back end. So for the $20 product that you bought, it might cost them 30 or 40 bucks or more to actually get that buyer. So they're losing money on the front end, but they make it up on the back end. Now, online, you don't always have to have like a loss on the front end. Now, there are a handful of businesses that do just that, but the key there is that a lot of money is made on the back end, and unfortunately, a lot of businesses, except for basically infomercials, they oftentimes completely ignore the back-end offers. Or I shouldn't say a lot of businesses. Most of the ones that I've seen, especially the ones online and stuff, they tend to ignore the back-end offers. So definitely try to think about that right there. Another mistake is that oftentimes people never test price points. And this is, key here too. There's people that just assume that, what they think should be the price should be the price. And this applies to almost everything. In fact, just last night at my tennis league, I play in a weekly tennis league, and I was having a conversation with a guy who he recently sold a house of his and bought another one, and he actually sold the house for about I think 25% more than what his wife thought the maximum price that they could ever sell it for would be. And it just came down to she didn't want to list it any higher because in her head she thought, hey, there's no way anyone would pay this much for this. She had all these reasons why you couldn't possibly pay more, and sure enough, within a matter of days, they sold it for even more than what his asking price was, which was, again, 25% more than what the wife thought it could ever sell for. And online, I see it even more so. There's guys like one of the first high price point products I sold for between $4,000 and $4.5 grand many years back, and multiple people told me that it'd be almost impossible to sell it for more than $100. In fact, one guy, I'll always remember this, right when I came out with the initial offer, he said that would be a really tough sell at $97. He's like, I think that should sell for 47 or 27. He's like, there's no way that would sell for even 97 all that well. So he had it stuck in his head that, hey, there's no way that you could price this high. This just should be a low price point. Well, I sold it for $4 to $4.5 grand and sold a ton of them. And imagine if I were to have taken his advice and sold it at that low price point offer, or imagine if I never even tested that. I would have lost out literally on tons and tons and tons and tons of money right there. I've also seen stuff where I've had stuff that I've sold for $27 that wouldn't sell nearly as well as when I changed the price to $97. And that's just pretty interesting stuff to see. And as far as price points go, here's a few very interesting tidbits. So if you're playing around with prices or anything like that, you might want to make a quick note of a few things here. So what we've seen both with ourselves as well as across the board with a lot of other offers out there is if you're going for like a low-end offer, the $7 or less tends to be a pretty good, essentially, impulse buy. But the key then is to, of course, make it up on the back end and have back end offers. If you have a low-end offer, the second you have it more than $10, like if you're trying for like $17 or so, you get outside of what I call essentially the impulse purchase. So you tend not to, make as much. You tend to hurt on the conversion rate a lot. You tend to lose a lot more sales, and it's because both are low price points. The money is made essentially on the back end. So you want higher conversions, and again, the $7 and less tends to get a lot more of the impulse buys. Anything over 10 on the low end side seems not to work nearly as well right there. And as far as the high end side, I haven't seen like a major difference between prices like $47 and 67, or I shouldn't say on the high end, I should say like mid-range stuff. From like 47 to 67, there's oftentimes not a huge difference. From like 100 to 300 or so, there's oftentimes not like a major difference. Especially between like $200 and $300, there's oftentimes like not much of a difference in conversions, but you're making 50% more when you're selling at 300 versus 2. And as far as like really high price points go, I'd see oftentimes the difference between like 500 and 1,000 isn't terribly much either. It won't necessarily hurt conversions. Now, of course, all this can it's just examples. Like it doesn't necessarily apply to every example out there, but in a lot of cases I've seen, again, not a major difference between $500 and $1,000. But there's a lot of people. Even a lot of like fairly experienced marketers and stuff that are super afraid to basically sell stuff at a higher price because they think their list won't buy. And that's simply not true. And as far as the really high-end prices go, it seems to be $2,000 to $2,500 seems to be like a sweet point. Anything over like $5,000 and more seems to be like a lot more hard to actually sell. Of course, there's like exceptions and stuff there. If you sell stuff that's in the tens of thousands of dollars, that's a little bit different there. But if you're trying to decide between a price point of like $2,500 and like $3,000 to $4,000, it's just stuff to basically think about right there.
Hey Brian, let me jump in for a second.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so you talk about the common myths that people have about marketing. So here, wow, this is like 13, 14 years ago. Frank Kern and I launched a monthly membership product for webinar training that was some live training as well as recorded screen capture videos. We called Cashflow Circle. And so before we launched that, because we wanted to do it monthly, and really nobody was doing monthly memberships online at that time, at least not in the IM world, we polled a bunch of different marketers that we wanted to help promote us and had them tell us, so what do you think we should be able to sell this for? And like universally, people said 47 a month. We said we really want to do 97 a month. People said, that's not going to work. You're going to really kill conversion. So we built a split test between 47 a month and 97 a month. Now, the first thing that you normally will see is that, at 47 you'll get more buyers, but a lot of times at 97, even though you get less buyers, it's still not half as many buyers, so you get more money. And then the question is, is getting more 47 buyers worth more than just, less 97 buyers in the long run for your business? There's a lot of, the back-end upsells and different things that in lifetime value of the customer, you have to look into that. But what we found in our split test was that the $97 price point got twice as many buyers as the $47 price point. So that split test made us 4 times as much money. If we just stuck at 47, we would have got 100 buyers at that price point, let's say, for our marketing, whereas at 97, we got $200 in buyers for the same amount of marketing. So literally, the difference between $20,000 a month versus $10,000 a month, or $5,000 a month, 4 times as much money. It's a huge, and it doesn't have to make sense. It's why you've just got to test stuff once you get volume up and running, because you don't know what the market will do in a lot of cases until you go find out. Okay, so just wanted to add it in. Good real life example there.
Yeah, and that's a key point. And I've had like tons of those too, where like you just don't quite know why it worked that way, but it just works, and it's not really a big deal to know like why one price point sells more. It's just you have to basically test that. And my theory is oftentimes if people see a higher price point, they pay more attention to it, and they basically take it more seriously and stuff. Like they'll think, hey, a software tool or coaching that's selling for thousands of dollars is probably worth more than one selling for $7. So again, just all great stuff to keep in mind and test. Even if the majority of people you see out there aren't, doing that, it's always worthwhile to test. The other thing I oftentimes see is that many times people don't believe that it's as easy as it seems to tweak this stuff. Now, even though it's not necessarily like super easy each time, oftentimes it's not all that tough at all. Like to increase the lead capture conversion oftentimes can be as easy as just changing around a headline or change around what you give away. It's easy stuff that might take only like a minute to actually change, but can make a drastic difference. And again, it's not like you have to spend a day tweaking the stuff. You can, test a different headline or anything like that in a matter of minutes, have an easy test out there. Or you can throw an offer together as a back-end offer or a one-time offer or an upsell and just see what works there too. In fact, with that, a perfect example I had is maybe 3 or 4 years back, I was helping a guy out with a product, and I noticed he didn't really have any kind of like an upsell or back-end offer or anything like that. And I said, you really want to have at least an upsell in there and have some kind of a back-end offer. And he initially was like, oh, okay, well, I guess that makes sense, but I just don't have time to add that in. And I said, bullshit. I'm like, record yourself in a video right now, do a PowerPoint, anything at all, and make some kind of an offer. I'm like, I don't care what the offer is, make some kind of an offer, at a decent price. And with that, he basically recorded himself just sitting in a chair, making an offer, and I think it was some kind of like, I think it was like a private webinar class or something like that. It wasn't anything that would be like a ton of work. It's stuff that he already was used to basically teaching. And he felt like really bad because he's like, man, he's like, this is, embarrassing. It will really, really suck. He's like, my eyes look red because I'm tired. I made lots of mistakes and yada, yada. And I'm like, okay, you don't look perfect, but it's better than not having an offer there. And he thought like no one would buy it at all. Turns out it sold quite well. And he was shocked because he's like, man, he's like, this is like my first attempt. I didn't even try. I just literally turned on the camera and talked and gave an offer, and the buyers of his front-end product bought that. And then furthermore, in the back end, I said, okay, well, if you don't have any other back-end offers of your own, possibly look to see if there's like an affiliate offer. And for his course, it had something to do with like mailings and all that stuff. So he had a back-end offer where they could sign up for basically an autoresponder that he recommended, and he earned thousands and thousands of dollars in commissions just off of that back-end link there. as his cut, and he earned way, way, way more with the upsell that he had as well, where if you looked at the numbers at the end of the day, I think was over 2 times as much was made simply on the back end. And that was all stuff that he was afraid to actually initially do, and all stuff that, again, literally took him like less than a half hour to throw together to essentially more than double his sales right there. So again, it doesn't have to be all that hard. And the last thing here as far as a common issue goes is many people oftentimes, can't think from the perspective of their potential client. So whether it's, they have like a lead capture that has like 0 incentive on it to sign up, they just magically think everyone should know the value of the stuff that they have and just sign up with no incentive at all. Or they'll have like a crappy sales page that does not explain anything, and they just think that people should magically somehow know everything about the product and sign up. So try to put yourself in the shoes of the prospect. Try to see, hey, what are the reasons why this person will buy or why they won't buy? What are maybe the reasons why they might be interested in signing up for, a free newsletter versus not, or a free offer versus not. So try to think that stuff through well, and if you can do that well, you can quickly and easily start to find little things that you can possibly tweak. So start thinking about what you can improve today, know your numbers, and of course get to it. And now with that, we'll move into the Q&A and the cash giveaway right after. Now to qualify for the cash giveaway, you'll want to again go to getwebfire.com/FB group for the Facebook group. Again, that's getwebfire.com/FB group. And what you'll want to do is Sharon has a post up there for today, and you'll want to leave a comment on that right there, basically letting us know what you thought about the training and all that right there, and we'll pick a random comment there for our winner. So make sure to do that right there. And in the meantime, we'll start with the Q&A. So if you guys have any questions at all, feel free to ask those, and we'll try to answer as many as we can in this time. And if by chance we miss any or anything like that, or if you have questions that pop up later, you can always email us at support@webfire.com, or better yet, inside of Webfire there is a support tab which goes to the help desk, which you can use there. So in case there's ever like an email issue or anything like that, it will always be in the help desk right there, because occasionally there's guys that will have a problem or it will go to spam or anything like that, so that will solve that all right there if you use that. So with that, I'll move on to the Q&A. All right. So lots and lots of questions here. Let's see what some of them are. And Sean, if
okay.
You're on...
Yeah, so let me jump in. So Martin asked a question. My problem is, he was asking, do we use lead magnet pages, by which he means, or lead magnets, by which he means, do we offer something for free to get people to join a list, to visit our website? And the answer is almost always, in all the niches we're in, we have a free offer, whether it's a free physical item in some cases, or it's most often a free video or free ebook or free report, something that's free to get people to come both visit your site, because you need to give them a reason to visit your site, and free is the most powerful word there is for that. And then you need a reason for them, once they visit your website, to opt in, to pay attention, to stay on your web page, to stay on your site. So we use that. Now, Martin went on to say, but he has trouble thinking of what to use on the landing page, and that is because, Martin, you are overthinking the landing page and the lead magnet. You really don't need anything super complex. You really just got to come up with something that's just, get this free thing. So whatever problem you're trying to solve for people. So let's say you're in the weight loss niche, right? Then what you would do is literally you would go and have an offer that says, let's say you're doing weight loss for men over 40. It's like, free report how men over 40 can lose weight quickly and easily using new method. Okay? Just that simple. Don't overthink this, or try to do too much, because you're going to just end up making yourself absolutely crazy. Okay? Yeah, well, sorry, Randolph. The reason the music is distracting is because the DJ at the pool down below just cranked it up louder, because I'm actually at the beach sitting up in my 8th floor condo. So sorry about that.
tough life. Um, at
Hey, I
the,
could be on the beach instead of working.
all right, so here's a comment I see here from Anne. And this is a good point, but I want to address this. When we talked about having like a back end or an upsell, she said that a lot of places oftentimes make it seem like your front end purchase is worthless without the more expensive back end. And I want to actually address both sides of that. So first, if ever there's a place that makes you feel like you have to buy the back end, that's probably a bad job on their part, because you don't want to make a guy feel bad after they make a purchase. So you want to make sure to try to address that in your own offers, but at the same time you can offer them additional related stuff that complements what they just bought. For instance, let's say that someone bought, trying to think offhand, let's say that you sold a course on how to be a bestseller, okay? So like a best-selling author. And let's say you sold this course for, $1,000 or so, okay? As an upsell, you might say, hey, for $2,000, we'll have a top-notch author write the book for you based upon your outline. They'll interview you, they'll do this and this, yada, yada. And that's the kind of offer that you're not saying, hey, you really need to buy this book or you're basically screwed. You're saying, hey, to save you even more time, here's another offer that you can use. Now, you don't have to use this guide, but, a lot of people will say, hey, that saves me a ton of time. I'd rather have that. Boom. And you make, again, 3 times as much if they buy that upsell versus if they don't. Or let's say, for instance, you have a product that helps a guy rank, okay? So it helps them rank, like, a Webfire type product. You could have an upsell that says, hey, would you like to learn how to, use this as a service to sell to others, or would you like a lead tool that helps you find, businesses that need this stuff? It complements essentially the offer that you just bought without saying, hey, to really rank, you should get this other additional tool here. I mean, that would kind of make you feel kind of crappy to say, hey, here's the best thing to do to rank, then right after, like, well, really you need this to rank. I've seen some guys that have done stuff like that, and it kind of makes it feel bad. And I don't think that you should go that route, but you can definitely have very high converting upsell offers without having to go that route. One of the best ones I've ever seen was for a toy, actually, for I think 2 Christmases ago. I forgot who I bought it for. I think it was for like I think it may have been like a nephew or something like that. There was a really cool like remote controlled helicopter that could do like some fancy tricks and stuff, and I saw it online, and they had like, I want to say like 6 upsells, and usually like 6 upsells would be like overkill. Like I'd say, like 2 or 3 is, fine, but like, if you're like 6, it just seems like whoa. And that they had 6, but it didn't come off as whoa. Like one was like, hey, would you like to buy 2? And the second one is half off. So all of a sudden you're like, well, gee, if I can buy a second one that's half off, it's not a bad offer. I can probably think of another person I could gift that to. It's not a bad deal. There's a lot of guys that probably will take that offer right there. And then it's like, hey, do you want a backup battery for that? So once the charge in one runs out, you don't have to wait like a half hour to recharge it. You can have a backup one ready to go right then. And it's like, well, gee, that kind of makes sense too. And it goes through like all this stuff like that. And it's like, hey, here's a cool related remote control car that does some cool fancy stuff too. Where if you like a remote control helicopter, you might be interested in a car too. And it was like, it goes through this whole thing. Then at the very end, it's like, hey, would you like expedited shipping? And instead of having to wait 2 to 3 weeks, this will arrive within a week. And it was all stuff that was like, it just kept having like a bunch of those in a row where it wasn't too offensive. It was very short, quick, and sweet. But that's the goal I think you should try to shoot for. Like, again, offer stuff that complements it and doesn't necessarily say, hey, what you just bought is worthless unless you get this right here. And yes, there's a couple of you asking if the calls are recorded. We actually addressed that at the start, and yes, they are, and they will be available within about a day in the members area as well. Right, here's a person that asked what low perceived value means. It basically means the value that a person places on it. So you want guys to have a high perceived value. And what that basically means is, if they tend to value the product a lot more, like if you're selling a service, you want to make it more like hands-free, because the more hands-free you make it, the more value the person will oftentimes place on it. Like if you just write, like, let's say an article, there's not really a high perceived value, because they think, okay, so they took like 20 minutes or a half hour to write an article. There's not really a high perceived value with that, so you can only charge so much. But if you have, let's say, a service where you make them blogs and you pre-fill blogs with like a bunch of content, the value of that could be huge. I mean, there's guys that might think this is easily worth $1,000 or $2,000, even if your raw cost isn't that much more. And it's not really that much more work if people know what they're actually doing. But the perceived value is huge there. All right. All right, so this person asked here that they say that they don't have enough ideas of what to put on a landing page. I mean, you don't have to overcomplicate that. I mean, some of our best converting landing pages literally are like a headline and an opt-in form. So it's like not much to the page itself. And the main question you have to ask yourself is, what is something of value that you can give away that people would gladly sign up and grab for free? Or what I like to say, what is something that people would be happy to pay for, but if you make it for free, they'd be like super excited for. So again, don't overthink that stuff too much. All right. All right, so a couple of you asked again on the Facebook page, and that's just getwebfire.com/FB group. And there should be a post that Sharon just put up there that you can leave a comment on. All right. And yeah, so there's a couple of you that have said like some horror stories of like upsells from other people. And yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Like, you don't want to do anything that makes it seem like a prick. So again, make them feel good about their original purchase, but then also say, hey, you might also be interested in this too, or this can complement this really well. I mean, that's the key to like anything there is like, if you say, hey, this complements that, you don't necessarily need it, but it can complement it well and help even more. All right. All right. All right, yeah, and Anne said, so she clarified when she talked about low perceived values, she meant that, and that this is a good point too, oftentimes if you price stuff too low, people might just think that it's not a useful or good service. Like, imagine if there were two coaches and one said, hey, it'll cost 25 grand to spend a day with me, and then the second one says, hey, it's free and I'll include lunch. Which one do you think, without even like knowing anything about them, which one do you think would be a better coach? I mean, the majority of people would automatically assume, the more expensive guy. And that may or may not necessarily be the case, even though it oftentimes can be. It's not always the case, but it's just the way that our minds work. All right. All right, so what I'll do now is, again, I'll just pause the screen here as I go to the Facebook page real quick. All right, and as a side note, guys, if you do have any interest in the Masterminds at all, again, make sure to write me at brian@webfire.com and tell me a bit about the business of yours, as well as about the skills that you have and all that, as well as what your biggest problems and accomplishments are as well. And we'll see if you'd be a good fit. And again, with that, we do offer a 100% money back guarantee, which no mastermind out there I've seen offers, and that's because, again, we pick our clients to make sure that first and foremost we can help each one. All right. All right, so here is that Facebook group page right there. So we have a fan page as well as a group page. This is the group page right here, which means you'll get like the announcements, and you can more easily ask questions and stuff like that. So this, again, you can get to by going to getwebfire.com/FB group. I'll give you guys another minute to do a comment right here on this one right here, where Sharon just posted up this. She's our right-hand gal right there, and she's been in this call answering questions along with Sean.
And for those of you who are convinced she's my wife, she's really not my wife. Just she's my sister. There is a difference even here in the South.
I was about to say, in some cases down south, Sean, you never know.
That's right. That's right. JT, to get in the FB group, go look in the chat window. There's a link, the chat thing that's down below the question window, and widget thing, and go to webinar thing. You'll see the link to join the FB group. Just click and join the FB group. Okay, so you're in there. Renee, I don't understand your question about how much should we price per keyword on page one. I think you mean if you're selling SEO and ranking services. And if so, the answer to that is going to depend upon what, okay, so that depends upon what the value of the traffic is worth to the business and the competition that's involved. So, let's say you go to a DUI lawyer, right, and you say to him, I can get you on page one. What's the average DUI case worth to a lawyer in fees? And I don't know the answer. Let's say it's $2,000 in fees, probably more than that, right? So, and let's say, he can make $1,000 profit on that. Well, he's going to pay a lot more to be getting all those people that get DUIs every day to see his pitch than somebody who's selling like, picnic baskets, right? Because there's not as many people that probably want to buy a picnic basket as need a DUI lawyer on a daily basis, in a local market, and there obviously is a huge difference in the value of a lead for a DUI lawyer and somebody with picnic basket. So you've got to kind of work your way through what things are worth to somebody, because when there's a lot of competition, you can get a lot more money than if there's no competition. Mark, you should have a link in the chat window. Sharon, post that link again, would you, so that everybody has it? George, no, lead pages, you're talking about lead pages, the service lead pages, they're not affected. You can still go ahead and use them. They're absolutely fine to use to generate traffic. So you're not going to be able, you can't, they're hosted on another site, so you can't rank them, and generally you can't rank a squeeze page anyway, really, because there's nothing to it to rank, right? You need content, but you can rank content and refer it to lead pages, opt-in pages, or you can promote those using ads or anything else you want to promote. So Brian, I think we probably got pretty much everybody posting that's going to post. So we can do a refresh, count it down, and give away money. Unless you guys think we should just keep the money.
All right, I'll refresh the page one more time.
Nobody said keep
And
the money. I can't believe that. Nobody said it, Brian.
all right, let me just click on the comments, click view more, make sure they all show up right here. All right, what I will do, let me make sure that they're all showing up right here. All right, all right. So what I'll do is, Sean, I will scroll up and down real fast, and you say stop, and that's the one that we'll focus on. Maybe say 1, 2, 3 stops, and we'll
1,
start.
2, 3, stop.
Oh well, I went off the page right there, so restart.
Okay. I'll count backwards for you. 3, 2, 1, stay on the page, stop.
Okay. All right, so now it's basically between these guys right here. I will move my mouse
Okay,
up and
I'm just going to say this now. Now, if everyone sees Terry Wilson there underneath the Snoopy dog, she told us to keep the money. So now she's probably really hoping that she hadn't written that. Okay, go ahead, guys.
All right, so say 3, 2, 1, stop whenever you're ready,
3,
Sean.
2, 1, stop.
Ooh, it's in between Joel and John. All right, so now I think between these two now, because it's the middle, it's a dead
See,
tie.
now Michael says we can keep the money because neither one of those was him.
All right.
All right.
So say 3, 2, 1, stop.
3, 2, 1, stop.
All right, John Lilly.
All right, John,
This is you
congratulations.
Congratulations, you are $100 richer right now. So just send us a quick message or write support at webfire.com. Send along your PayPal info, and if we get that today, we'll get you paid today as well. So John Lilly or Snoopy. Again, let us know your PayPal, and we'll pay you $100. So again, thanks to all of you that joined on this call. Hope you got some value out of it all. I know a lot of you have right there. And again, if there's any suggestions or topics that you want to see covered on a future call or anything like that, let us know. Because again, we're happy to cover stuff. A lot of the topics that we covered in the past have actually been from people asking us to talk more about this or that, but also make sure to check some of our prior trainings as well, because oftentimes we get asked to cover stuff that we've actually covered in detail more than once even, so make sure to check all that. And again, if you have any other questions at all or if stuff pops up, again, feel free to write support@webfire.com, or again, use the support tab inside of Webfire to use the help desk right there. And again, I want to thank all of you that have joined on this call. And again, if you're interested in the Mastermind, of course, just write brian@webfire.com. So, all right, guys, thanks so much. And yes, we will have a replay of this up within the next day. Will be posted in the members area. So thanks much again, guys. And we'll talk to you later. And Sean, hopefully you're having a great vacation and enjoy the rest of your time.
All right, thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.